about comics. Let's talk about comics. Let's talk about comics. Let's talk about comics.
Harambe YouTube, it is time for what has become my weekly Tuesday tradition where I fill you in on what is in store so that when you're going to your comic book store on Wednesday, you're not going to be clueless on what you may or may not like. These recommendations are based on what I am personally enjoying and what I think will be enjoyed by a wider audience, even if I'm not reading it myself. And so that's the criteria that I use to select the books I feature in these weekly highlights. We start off as always with what's in store already that you can already get to your store and buy, and you might want to pick up before it runs out. But we have the Deadpool Batman crossover, two characters from two different companies. I'm really looking forward to seeing what they're doing with this. The last crossover I got into featuring Batman was the Batman Spawn crossover, which was very good. I'm actually going to reread and probably do a review on that. Blade Runner Black Lotus from my favorite comic book universe. This is Blade Runner Black Lotus Las Vegas, taken off from the original Blade Runner Black Lotus series. Definitely check it out if you're into futuristic dystopian type stuff. This is a book for you. Next we have Exquisite Corpses number 5. Number 5 and the Volume 1 trade paperback book came out last week. Now I speculated what the trade paperback might contain, and I was made hip by another comic book creator. But what it contains is issues number 1 through 3. And you may be thinking, a trade paperback with only 3 titles? But what they did with Exquisite Corpses is the first book was a very, very big book. I would say it's probably about 3 to 4 comic books put into one. And so you're not getting ripped off even though it's just 3 issues. It is a big issue followed by 2 regular size issues. And it gives me hope for the future of the series. Because, they're most likely going to be continuing it after 5 at least. Because, you can't have a volume of 2 books unless they do another big book. And then just, one of my personal favorite cosplay artists has a great cosplay cover of Vampirella Armageddon, number 3. This is a cover by Rachel Holland, otherwise known on Instagram as Faces by Rachie. A brilliant cosplayer. She's done Harley Quinn, Vampirella, Red Sonja, Jennifer Blood, characters of all types, and she really embodies the character. And so that is what is in stores right now. And so let's get to the good stuff, the stuff that is going to be dropping this week. So we're going to be starting off with one of my favorite series, Catwoman number 79 from DC Comics. And then we have a special one from Dynamite Comics. It is the Vampirella Halloween Horror number 1. I believe it's a Halloween one-shot. And I always like those little holiday editions of Vampirella. It usually contains 1 self-contained or even up to 3 self-contained stories that are a little bit more campy and fun and don't lean so much into heavy storytelling. I'm not sure what this one is going to entail, but if it's anything like previous ones, look for that type of action. And then for some of you guys that may not be too familiar with comic books, but are a big fan of something in pop culture, Star Trek has many comic books that are currently running, and you can even get in back issues. But this is a number 1 in the Star Trek. Did I say Star Wars or Star Trek? Irregardless, I meant Star Trek. But they have a new series from IDW Comics called Star Trek: The Last Starship, and it's a #1 issue. So get that one while it lasts. If you are a Trekkie, it'll be an interesting way to get you or your Trekkie friend into comic books. And then another title that is more mainstream is the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Saturday Morning Adventures comic book from IDW, #29. And then from IDW Dark, we have a classic title, again another one from Pop Culture, The Twilight Zone. And it's only on issue #2, so you hurry up. You may be able to get in issue #1 and 2. Get that for yourself or for that fan of The Twilight Zone that's a friend or family member. Then next we have Black Ritual, The Book of Nyx from Image Comics, #5. Really enjoying that. That is part of the Spawn universe. It is set about 20 or so years as far as chronologically goes in the Spawn universe. 20-something years ago, back when Nyx was still a human witch and not the ruler of hell, which she is now in the current Spawn universe. And so it's interesting to see her, how she became who she was, and how she, and the seeds planted of her possibly being corrupted in the future. So very interesting stuff. And then we have a book from Image Comics that I missed. I didn't know what it was about. I actually meant to look up more of it before I record this video, but it slipped my mind. But it's a book called Escape. They're on issue #2, and one thing that caught my mind was the cover, and also the fact that #1 is on a second printing already, and they're not going to do a second printing for something that is not moving. And then let's see, what else do we have? Oh yes, Spawn: The Battle for the Throne Volume 1 trade paperback is going to be released. If you want to get into the current Spawn universe, I think this is a must-have, because the battle for the Throne of Hell is really what set the last few story arcs off, and is very essential understanding to really get into the Spawn, universe right now, where they're standing. A lot happened in that really changed a lot of things and introduced a lot of characters. So definitely get a hold of that. And then we have Conan, Scourge of the Serpent from Title Comics. That is a must for me because I love Conan and the Conan universe. Then we have another one from Pop Culture, Rick and Morty versus the Universe, #3 from Oni Press. I'm probably the only person on earth who has never seen Rick and Morty. I might pop on episodes, see what I'm missing. But it's a very popular franchise. You may not know it has a comic book. And then we're going to end with one that I think is flown way under the radar for 2 reasons. It's from a smaller company, CEX Publishing. Also because it's a different format than we're used to. More visual storytelling than actual words. And a very inconsistent schedule. I don't know if the Diamond Distribution fall had anything to do with it, but they put out issues 1 and 2, I think, a month or 2 apart, and then I took for granted that the series got canceled, which bummed me out because I really enjoyed it. And then I go to look up comic books coming out, and I'm like, oh, the First Americans, they're continuing it. And what it is, it's the story of the first people making their way over the Arctic land bridge to the Americas, pursuing a herd of mammoth and the different things and perils that they face going over that land bridge there from Europe to Eurasia to North America. It's a very beautifully drawn book. Very, very little dialogue. If you are a fan of art check it out. And even without a lot of words, their actions and their facial expressions tell a very specific story of struggle and survival. And that is The First Americans from CEX Publishing. We're on issue number 3. I really am the only person I've heard talk about it, and that's a shame because it is a great book. Those guys put a lot of effort into it, and I really suggest you check it out. And so that's what you could be looking for when you're at your local comic book stores tomorrow. And I will see you next time. Stay tuned. Tomorrow we're going to be doing an unboxing of the brand new comic books that I got for this new comic book day from Midtown Comics. And I'll see you guys next time. I'm out.